Okay, this is going to be my first devlog for Game Jam Tools, which is going to be a collection of tools I use for some of the game jams I enter. I tend to find I'm doing a lot of the same things over and over again, so I decided to create a library of systems that I can hopefully reuse in future projects. And I'm considering possibly releasing this as a Unity Asset Store asset as well, because I figured other people can take advantage of it. So the first thing that I created here out of the list is a 3D pathfinding tool. The pathfinding tool that's in Unity, even though it can work in 3D space, it primarily is designed to project pathfinding onto a surface, which for games, especially space games, and this example, it's more like the old game Descent, where you have 6 degrees of freedoms to fly through. That kind of pathfinding simply isn't going to work for a game like this. So I needed a 3D waypoint pathfinding system. In this example here, this is a spaceship and this is a tunnel that I can fly through, and it goes up. And if I hit play, you'll see the red ship is flying through, takes a turn, and then goes eventually upward, and it'll go toward the goal. Uh, Now, I can elaborate on this and make this as complicated as I want. It can branch. The only key is you just got to make sure that you build the waypoint system in there, and I believe, yeah, the waypoints are embedded. Yeah, here we go. Here's the scene. You can see where the waypoint are built into the system, and I think that actually can be. Yeah, yeah, that's right. So yeah, once you've got the waypoints where you want them in the scene, you can bake them and have an AI system follow that. And so eventually, I want to create a just for myself. I'd love to create a Descent style game because I loved that as a young man. So I would love to try to recreate it, even though it's kind of pointless because they've already made an updated version of it. But it's just something I fantasize about doing. Okay, the next tool. Um, this is an arcade cart controller. Okay, let's take a look and see what we got here. All right, so essentially it's just a cart controller system. The camera shakes a little bit. That's because I have to correct the way that it updates. The camera updates. A pretty simple thing, but it's basically what you've got here is basically under the hood. It's basically a ball that's rolling with some. I can actually change it so it has a little more friction or resistance when it moves because it's not very realistic. Let's go here and add some resistance, some damping. There we go. Let's make that 5 instead so it stops a little sooner. Yeah. But the key with this is since it's really just a ball under the hood that's moving, it becomes extremely manageable in a physics environment. It's actually the basis for a a game jam I did called Tropical Rush that you can find on itch.io. It's not a concept I came up with, but I am expanding on it. And yeah, okay. So let's go to the next one. This is a queue system. Um, I wanted a way to do like audio cues, and what I mean by that is not just playing a sound. I wanted a way to be able to add a level of abstraction to where the data for the sound comes from. So instead of playing a sound clip directly, you're playing an audio cue that then finds the clip and serves it up to the audio source. So in this case, a single, you can hear the sound going off here. It's a single sound, and this one is an audio cue that has random elements within the queue. And actually, we can look at this data here because under cues,
like audio random. Its mode is set to random, so if you play the cue, it's going to randomly play one of these. This is really good for things like footsteps and stuff. You can even tell it to avoid repeats so it doesn't play two at a time. You can add some pitch variation in there so it doesn't always sound exactly the same every time. Also, too, you can do a sequence, and and in this case, you'll hear that it's playing these in order over and over and over. This is really good if you have like a case where you've got a bunch of dialogue you want it to say in order. You can have it play one after another. All right. So, and then you have a similar functionality for game objects. I don't think this works yet. Yeah, this is not working yet. But basically, you can tell it to spawn a random object from a list or spawn a single object. It's basically using the exact same process as the audio cue, and the same as the sequence, and the same for particles as well. I have not completed these parts of the demos, but we'll get to that eventually. It's actually a very useful system, and one of the best parts about it that I've come up with is that once you follow this pattern where you're using this data rather than referencing audio clips directly, you've now got one spot where all of your audio data is, and you can look through it and change it very quickly without having to dig around and find where these things are in your project. It makes it really much easier. Okay, this is a damage number tutorial or damage number demo. So nothing really surprising here. Basically, you've got floating damage numbers. Of course, they don't have to be this gigantic. It's just part of the demo. But yeah, so you can see. So those are really huge, but you get the idea. The FPS controller, it's got two types. It has a simple version, which I'll show first. The simple version is basically just it's actually got this in here too, which is a separate system. This is a Compass system. But it's basically, your basic first-person shooter style controller. And it has all the features all within one control. So it's basic, but it's very limiting. Um, and by limiting, I mean it's very difficult to add and subtract stuff from it because it's all built. It's all hard built in. So I'll show you the other option, which is the modular, which isn't going to look any different when you play it, but the primary difference here is that it is made up of a bunch of different components. Like the FPS move, if I took all this stuff off, excluding the audio source because you don't really need it. Let's see. We need these two here because they're part of the input system. But now I can only if it's just the FPS move. You'll notice I've only got I can't turn or anything because I can't look. Um, I could turn off the motion and turn on FPS look, and now all I can do is look around. Um, and then you have gravity and all that stuff. I can leave off jumps if I don't want to support jumps. So I can't jump, or so I can sprint, but I can turn off sprint if I don't want to support sprinting. Oh, I didn't turn it off before I turned it off. There we go. So now I can only now let's say you'd be like, well, why do you want to do that? It's like maybe you're making a walking simulator where you don't want to support jumping and crouching and all that stuff. You just wanna and the other problem too is that if I, use the simple controller, you have the ability to turn these off there too, but then there's all that extra code in there that's not even being used. It's better to just not have it there at all, because then you're only processing the features that are desired and not any of the ones that you really don't want.
All right. Um, Another feature or another system in here that I don't think I have in this list is the input and possession system. I modeled this off of Unreal because Unreal has a possession system where you have an input controller and then you use that, you basically project that into what they call a pawn. It's a possession system. So, like here is the input controller. I put it right on here, but you could have this on a separate game object if you want to. And then you can tell it to possess this character with this input, and you can fly around. The goal is to be able to hot swap different inputs. Maybe it's an AI input, maybe it's a human input. You basically would hot swap the different inputs between the different characters. So that's kind of the direction that's going. All right, so what else we got? We got game time. This was primarily made for my crafting system, but basically what I needed was a way to process the time that it took for items to be crafted. And to make matters worse, there were things that interfered with that. Like, let's say your character goes to sleep and wakes up 8 hours later. Now you've got to process all the events that happened during those 8 hours. So I needed a system that could basically, you know, run through it, like allow me to keep track of like how much time has passed so I could calculate what needs to be done. So in the event of this one, it's like we've got I can scale the time. Like say I can start the timer here. Oh, I got to hit play. Never mind. I got to hit play, and now I can scale the time down. So now it's going really slow. Maybe the person is asleep, or maybe it's going really fast. I can also, um, tell it to instantly set the time to like 8 hours later, and that would allow the system to have an opportunity to check, well, hey, what happened in that 8 hours? Let's update everything. And I'll probably make some more examples for that in the future. Let's see, we've got launchers. These are just basically weapon systems. It's pretty self. There's a 2D and 3D versions. So basically, you've got different types of weapon projectiles you could fire out, and pretty basic stuff. And there's also a pattern version for bullet hell, so you can go through the different patterns. This is both in 2D and 3D. We have a system for both of those. Okay, and let's see what else we got here. Localization. This is basically a system that allows you to write JSON files that have um, your text in them. Let me show you, see if I can bring up yeah, here we go. So like here's the English JSON file, here's the French JSON file, and the nice thing about this system is you could put this into, say, ChatGPT and say, write different language versions of this for me, and it will go through and do it, and then you can save them out and put them into the system, and it'll just automatically use them. So, like for the example here, yeah, replace it with French and vice versa. It's just it's a pretty easy system to use, pretty basic. All right, we got object pulling. This is another really kind of dumb basic system that's pretty common. Um, so, like you can burst objects and stream objects. You can see the pool's been created and it is going through the pool and finding available objects to spawn. And these are just different types of demos showing object pooling. Pathfinder, this is a fun one. So you got your basic 2D pathfinding. It's just uh, this would be primarily for use for something like, say, Advanced Wars style game. I may add a couple variations so you can go diagonally and stuff, and maybe hexes as well. It supports both 2D and 3D. Okay. And then I also made a demo to show a potential turn-based strategy type game using this system. You see the bad guys moving. And there is also a 3D version of this as well. Rolling ball controller, kind of dumb, very simple. Basically, it's just a rolling ball. So if you want to make a marble type game, it's just gonna that's basic. It's nothing special about that. All right, the spaceship controller. This is very work in progress. I was looking for something that felt like Elite Dangerous, and right now the stars in there. It's just basically a grid of stars. Just basically an opportunity for me to actually see where I'm moving because when if you have nothing out there, you can't actually tell if you're moving. So that there's also a unusual system in here I came up with that simulate kind of how old games used to render stars. Like so for here, you see the stars in the background. This is basically like an like a sky dome, because it's a sphere of stars that render around and they follow the camera around. But the interesting feature that this has is, and they did this back in like Descent Free Space and stuff, and they used to do it in Lightwave 3D, which was a popular rendering program back in the late 90s and early 2000s, is that they would literally stretch the points to simulate motion blur on the stars. And I thought that was a pretty cool trick. All right, we got spawners. This is once again some pretty basic stuff. So we've got basically you can spawn in shapes. Some of these demos don't work great. Like this is a randomized spawner. But I use that for things like spawning enemies and stuff. I'm going to continue working on that to make the demo a little more easier to understand. Okay, the scene manager. This is basically a system to load levels. Like say you want to load a next level and you want to load in. Like this will do it. Like we'll load a scene with a fade in and a fade out. Pretty basic. You also have one that will load in a scene with a loading scene and then go to the next scene and you back out with the fade. It just makes a nice transition. I may add more transitions to that, but we'll see. Twin stick controller. This is another pretty basic. There's a 2D and a 3D version of this. Pretty basic stuff. You can control it and it will point. This in combination with the launcher is pretty useful. I've already used this on a game jam, the Wizard's Dungeon on my on itch. If you're looking for my stuff on itch.io, I go under the name Rex Thunder with two X's, so REXX Thunder. We've got some UI tools in here. Let's see. The UI compass we saw, that was oh yeah, this one's kind of fun. This is an off-screen indicator. You can see the indicator needs a new texture, but basically as the ball goes off the screen, it gets replaced with an indicator pointing to where it is relative to the camera on the edge of the screen. Um, this can be helpful for like you show a character walks off the side, maybe it's one of your friends, and there's a name. You can see a little indicator that says, "Oh, he's over to the right." And I have a UI framework which has a bunch of different stuff in it. This is still work in progress. Basically, you can have like an open a pop-up. This will bring up a pop-up which will show you information. Show pause menu. Let's see. Show info panel. It's basically all the same kind of stuff. Here's a message message stuff on the bottom. All these are generic panels. I plan to give them some better UI treatment. This is part of a toast system, so it can show you little messages that show up on the bottom. It's a dialogue demo that currently has a bug that doesn't draw out the text like it's supposed to, but we'll fix that up. Progress bar. This is pretty cool. You have a pip version of a progress bar, which we can replace with images, and we have a and it does nice animations to get to the next value rather than just popping. Okay, we've got item picker. This is say you have like a roguelike game that wants to like bring 3 items up that you can pick from. It'll let you pick from one of them. And race timer. This is kind of a fun one because I made a racing game, so I needed to represent race time. So this basically converts the float value of time into racer time. And let's see what else we got here. UI framework. Oh, waypoints is the last one. Basically, your basic waypoint systems. So we've got a waypoint that you can add feature. You can make it tell it to stop and turn and stuff. You can have it so it doesn't turn at all. Uh, I don't remember exactly what this guy was doing, but you also have this guy who's a step follower, and meaning that he will, if you click it, he'll advance to the next waypoint. This would be really good for AI because you can tell it to only go one step and then do something, then go another step and then do something. Okay, and that is the current list. I know it's a lot of stuff to get through. I think in the future I'll only focus on the stuff that I update, but figure since this is the first video, it's kind of a dump. There's a whole lot of other stuff I didn't cover. The in progress systems is I want to make a decent 2D character controller, something for like Mario type games. I have a full crafting system. There are other videos on the crafting system that I'm working on that you can look for. Um, what else we got? Oh, I think the grid. Oh, the grid system works. I don't know why that's in the. We can take a look at the grid system. Is basically just a system for placing objects on a grid. So yeah, it's pretty cool. In fact, you can take this. Let's see if we can see them both. Oops, nope. There we go. Can we see them both? There we go. Looks like there's some kind of little bug there, but that's pretty minor. I think I can fix that. So yeah, and that's the. Let's see what else we got in here that's interesting, if anything. It's an interaction system. You saw a little of that with the first-person controller. I'd like to add a leaderboard system that hopefully might use some online leaderboard system. I'm going to make a working race circuit system for racing games. I've already built one before, and I want to make a better one this time. Some load save features and whatnot. Um, but I'm going to keep adding to this. It's going to end up being pretty monstrous, but hopefully it'll help me solve most of the problems I run into when I'm doing my Game Jam projects.